Strong wind signal number 3 will be in force at least until 10 p.m. Rosanna Law said many sectors have benefited from the Golden Week holiday. And Japan's ruling party elects new leader Sanae Takaichi, who is likely to become the first female prime minister. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The strong wind signal number 3 is now in effect and will be in force at least until 10 p.m. The observatory will assess the need for upgrading the signal depending on tropical cyclone Matmo's intensity. Mimo Sangai reports.
A blue sky and a calm sea. Despite a sunny morning, the weather deteriorated in the afternoon. Some passers-by were unprepared for the sudden change of weather, but this group of runners were not bothered by the rain. The observatory says tropical cyclone Matmo continued to move towards the vicinity of Leizhou Peninsula in the past few hours. At 6 p.m., Matmo was estimated to be about 410 kilometers south of Hong Kong and is forecast to move west-northwest at about 25 kilometers an hour, crossing the northern part of the South China Sea. Weather authorities say they may upgrade the strong wind signal number 3 depending on Matmo's intensity, the distance of its gale force winds from the Pearl River estuary, and the change in local wind conditions.
Locally, there will be occasional squally showers and thunderstorms tonight and at first tomorrow.
Looking ahead, the weather will improve over the coast of Guangdong on Mid-Autumn Festival. Residents should expect some scorching hot days in the middle and latter parts of next week under the effect of an anticyclone aloft. Meanwhile, the Drainage Department has inspected about 240 flooding black spots. Authorities say they will deploy staff to handle potential flooding when necessary. Mamos 9, TVB News.
Macau has issued the number 3 tropical cyclone signal, which is expected to remain in effect in the evening. The enclave's meteorological bureau says Matmo is moving at a relatively fast speed across the central and northern parts of South China Sea, with winds beginning to strengthen significantly in Macau in the next few hours, with occasional heavy showers. The forecaster says Matmo is closest to Macau from early morning to early Sunday morning. It adds that the chance of issuing typhoon signal number 8 is moderate from midnight to early Sunday morning. The Immigration Department expects that land departures from Hong Kong will peak today, with Hong Kongers go on holiday for the Mid-Autumn Festival. As of 4 p.m., about 280,000 travelers crossed the border out of the SAR. This year's Mid-Autumn Festival falls on Monday, with Tuesday being a public holiday. At Shenzhou MTR station, many are heading north to spend their weekend, and those who take Monday off can enjoy a 4-day break. This woman says her family is planning to return to their hometown to celebrate the festival. This woman says they are going to Guangzhou for a 2-day holiday as her child still has to go to school on Monday. The Immigration Department estimates that land border departures could reach 660,000 at its peak, with some travelers choosing to leave early to avoid the crowds. This man says he usually travels via the Futian port because it's less crowded. Mainland authorities also expect passenger traffic at the Shenzhen-Hong Kong border crossings to reach 950,000. Some mainland tourists plan to spend the remainder of the Golden Week holiday in Hong Kong. But those crossing at Liantang Port found it difficult to avoid the throngs of tour groups. This tourist from Chengdu says they queued for nearly an hour and a half. Also packed with travelers was the West Kowloon high-speed rail station, whether it's the arrival hall or the departure concourse. During the 8-day National Day and Mid-Autumn Festival Golden Week, the high-speed rail is arranging 13 extra pairs of short-distance trains every day. Today, there are 120 pairs of trains running between Hong Kong West Kowloon Station and mainland cities, the highest number of train services operated in a single day since the opening of the Hong Kong section of the high-speed rail. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Rosanna Law said multiple sectors have benefited from the Golden Week holiday. This came after more than 670,000 mainlanders visited Hong Kong over the past 3 days. Mimo Sangai reports.
On the fourth day of the mainland's Golden Week holiday, the government said there was a 6.3% increase in the number of tourists visiting Hong Kong compared to the same period of last year. Speaking on a radio program, Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Rosanna Law said different local sectors have benefited from the surge of tourism. Law said that mainlanders do not simply visit tourist hotspots such as Canton Road in Tsim Sha Tsui. The Secretary also said the city had received 36.5 million tourists up until September, a year-on-year increase of 12%. The figure is still one-third lower than the Hong Kong Tourism Board's estimation of visitors, 49 million. But Law expressed confidence, saying that the local tourism's peak season is about to commence with the series of events, including Wine and Dine and the 15th National Games. She said there should be 100,000 people coming to the city to watch the games. That's before counting the athletes and their families. She added it is the time to encourage retail and restaurant owners to put more effort in operating nighttime business. Mamos 9, TVB News.
A man attacked two passers-by with a knife in Kwa Wan. One person suffered neck injuries. The suspect is on the run. The attack happened at Hoi Chan Park. The two male victims, aged 24 and 37 respectively, were sent to Queen Elizabeth Hospital. One man was unconscious. Another man said his neck was injured. A group of police officers arrived at the scene to investigate. The force cordoned off the area. The incident occurred at around 12:30 p.m. when the police received reports from passers-by saying two men fell down on the ground. A man with a knife fled the scene. Sources say the suspect is about 40 years old and was dressed in a gray top and black trousers. Japan's ruling party has elected former Economic Security Minister Sanae Takaichi as its new leader. She is likely to become the country's first female prime minister, as the party remains by far the largest in the lower house of parliament, which determines the national leader. David Garrett has more.
In a country that ranks poorly internationally for gender equality, Sanae Takaichi makes history as the likely first woman leader of Japan. She is one of the most conservative members of the male-dominated Liberal Democratic Party. An admirer of former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, Takaichi is a protégé of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's ultra-conservative vision. She's a regular at the Yasukuni War Shrine, which could complicate Tokyo's relations with China. Takaichi beat Agricultural Minister Shinjiro Koizumi in a runoff. Takaichi replaces Shigeru Ishiba as the party hopes to regain public support and stay in power after losses at the polls. She's set to become Japan's next leader because the party remains by far the largest in the lower house of parliament, which determines the national leader. As the results were announced, Takaichi stood up and bowed to fellow party members. "I made history for the LDP," she said, thanking those who had supported her. In her policy speech early in the campaign, she vowed to drastically increase female ministers in her government. Experts say she may have to show loyalty to influential male heavyweights. David Garrett, TVB News.
In the UK, the first female Archbishop of Canterbury has been elected. Bishop of London, Sarah Mullally, shattered a stained glass ceiling Friday when she was announced as the next principal head of Church of England. Church of England is the National Protestant Christian Church of England, also known as the Anglican Church.
Well, I think as a spiritual leader, we get opportunities not just to talk, but also to model it. So I will continue what I've always been doing. I will work in partnership with other faith leaders for us to not only speak about it, but demonstrate it our actions, how we stand against any sort of anti-Semitism or racism in that way.
She follows 105 men who have held the role since St. Augustine became the first Archbishop of Canterbury in the year 597. Mullally replaces former Archbishop Justin Welby. And still ahead, Hamas accepts parts of Donald Trump's 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza. The police held a carnival to raise awareness towards animal welfare and protection. And the government and the Legislative Council played friendly football match this afternoon. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump ordered Israel to stop bombing Gaza after Hamas said it has accepted some elements of its 20-point plan to end the nearly two-year war and return all remaining hostages taken in the October 7, 2023 attack. Hamas said it was also willing to hand over power to other Palestinians, but other parts of the plan need further consultation among Palestinians. Tracy Furness has more.
Multiple explosions were seen over the Gaza skyline in the early hours of Saturday morning as US President Donald Trump ordered Israel to stop bombing the Strip after Hamas said it had accepted some elements of his plan to end the nearly two-year war. Under Trump's plan, Hamas would release the remaining 48 hostages, around 20 of them believed to be alive, within 3 days. It would also give up power and disarm. In return, Israel would halt its offensive and withdraw from much of the territory, release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, and allow an influx of humanitarian aid and eventually reconstruction. Plans to relocate much of Gaza's population to other countries would be shelved. Gaza will be governed under the temporary transitional governance of a technocratic apolitical Palestinian committee with oversight and supervision by an international board of peace, which will be headed by Donald Trump, with other members including former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. The plan provides no path for eventual reunification with the Israeli-occupied West Bank in a future Palestinian state.
Trump presented the plan earlier this week. It has much backing from the international community as well as from Israel. But there is still a lot of unknowns about what will happen next. Hamas did not address the issue of disarming, which is a key part of this plan.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization said it had verified 400 deaths in Gaza linked to malnutrition so far this year, including 101 children, of whom 80 were under 5 years old. Currently, only 4 malnutrition stabilization centers in Gaza remain operational. The nutrition response faces severe operational challenges, including critical shortages of therapeutic foods and a lack of space to expand stabilization services within existing health facilities. Ongoing displacement orders in Gaza City have further disrupted program delivery, leaving thousands of children at heightened risk of preventable death. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Pro-Palestinian protesters approached the gates of the Italy football team's training center on Friday to demand its upcoming World Cup qualifier against Israel to not be played because of the war in Gaza. Protesters also blocked troops en route to Gaza, calling on the Israeli government to allow a flotilla into the enclave to deliver humanitarian aid. Tracy Furness again.
Israeli forces on Friday intercepted the last boat of an international flotilla trying to break Israel's sea blockade of war-ravaged Gaza to deliver humanitarian aid. The boat returned to Cyprus with 21 people on board.
And I remember being on our vessel and it's pitch black, and I think what had happened was another vessel had come into distress and we had to try and support them with some supplies, which is near to us. And then, you know, you're aware of drones and you're aware of like large vessels and you don't know if they're military vessels or support vessels. So it's very, in the pitch black when things are happening, it's quite scary.
Israeli troops and police dragged away protesters from blocking the road for troops to enter Gaza as they protested the government to allow the flotilla into the enclave.
My full solidarity is with the Samud flotilla and the arrestees right now in the occupation prisons. I hope they stay strong, and I hope next time will be larger and stronger, and all of us together will break the siege.
This is hundreds of thousands of people across Italy staged a nationwide general strike Friday after Israeli forces intercepted the flotilla. The strikes disrupted both public and private sectors. Transport services were affected in major cities, including Rome and Milan. Health workers, civil servants, teachers, university staff and journalists also joined the walkout. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
A local charity has installed door sensors at public housing flats, benefiting 120 elderly residents living alone and elderly-only households. Lions Club of South Kowloon set up the sensors at public housing units at Lok Wa South Estate in Ngo Tau Kok, noting the goal is to help ensure the safety of over 900 elderly residents in Hong Kong in the end. If no door movement is detected for more than 48 hours, the system will automatically alert designated contacts, including family members or district support teams. If follow-up phone calls go unanswered, care team volunteers will visit the home to check on the resident. Secretary for Housing Winnie Ho expresses gratitude to the charity, noting that government's resources are limited. The police held a carnival on Saturday morning to raise awareness towards animal welfare and protection.
Here at Hopewell Center in Wan Chai, many pets and animals were up bright and early this morning to join this carnival held by the police's Animal Watches program, which aims to promote animal protection and welfare. The jamboree features multiple interactive zones, including a pet and owner rope challenge and even a pet adoption corner. Attending the opening ceremony, Commissioner of Police Joe Chow says the police will not tolerate any animal cruelty incidents. Chow says as a pet owner himself, he treats his pet as a family member, noting how our society still sees heart-wrenching incidents of animal cruelty and neglect, which are painful reminders that we still have a long way to go in protecting animals, and every effort we make on animal welfare shows the value we place on life. Also joining forces in the animal protection efforts is this three-legged ambassador Bun Bun, who had to undergo amputation at just 2 or 3 months old because of a foot injury. Undeterred by his disability, Bun Bun, alongside his owner, has been trained to promote the importance of cherishing life in schools across the city. The owner, also an animal watcher, says children are always elated to see the animals at their campus, and they often listen carefully to the police's speeches about animal protection and how to protect animals under the current law. As for him, he did not bring any pets to attend the event because they're all back on campus. Chen Wingfeng, a principal of Mukwang English School in Kuntong, has set up an Amazon biology classroom on campus, where students look after more than 60 animals, including pythons and tortoises. Cheng noted the enthusiasm of his students in taking care of the animals at the Pet Pavilion, which has nurtured a culture of animal protection. The force also took the opportunity to thank 2 retired search and rescue dogs at the carnival.
The government and the Legislative Council played a friendly football match this afternoon. Chief Executive John Lee and LegCo President Andrew Leung took part in the kickoff ceremony at the Youth Sports Ground in the Kai Tak Sports Park. The government team included Deputy Financial Secretary Kwa Wan and Secretary for Security Chris Tang. The Legislative Council team included Luk Chung Hung and Lau Kwok Fan. Chief Executive John Lee described the good relationship between the executive and legislative branches as playing a good game. In the end, the government team secured victory with a score of 2-1. A reminder that our news at 7:30 tomorrow will be aired at 6 p.m. because of special programming arrangements. And before we go, we leave you tonight with the festive sights and lantern lights as Mid-Autumn celebrations are in full swing across town. Once again, happy holidays and good night.